Well, this is another do-it-yourself video. I was here working on the brakes of my 2001 Chevy Tahoe in the rain. I managed to get the corner that I needed to work on tucked into the garage, and while I was finishing that job, out of my peripheral vision I saw something flop down underneath the truck, and I looked and it was the full fuel tank strap. Here it is, it's off the vehicle. And what had happened was the fuel tank sits in here, and then there's the bottom of the truck, and there's kind of the rest of the truck. Anyway, this is the fuel tank, and it just went like this, and hinged down like that. Obviously, broke right here. I had no warning because the fuel tank strap from the bottom looks immaculate. There's not a blemish on it. It's actually coated with some kind of a plastic to probably protect the tank and not wear through the tank. It's a plastic fuel tank on the truck too, so that's not going to rust. But and this other end, though it looks good, it's actually pretty weakened. The metal is pretty thin there. And this end right here, well, just broke off. Now, one nice thing, I guess, is I was home when it happened, in my garage, or, you know, pretty close, and the front strap did not let go, so the fuel tank is still on the truck and it didn't even move. So if I can get this back one on in time before anything crazy happens with the truck fuel tank, then it shouldn't be too bad of a repair. I called the local parts store, and they said 2 straps, which I'd replace them both because the front one's probably not much better than this one. 2 straps is $100, and they don't have any in the province, and it would take I don't know, 3 or 4 days or something to get them. And given it's Sunday and it's rainy and I can't go boating, I might as well make some straps. So that's what this video is about. So I started with some sheet metal. Well, I guess you could call it sheet metal. It's pretty thick to be calling it sheet metal, but it is a sheet, I suppose. And it's I don't know what gauge it is, but it's pretty thick, probably 2 millimeters thick almost. Quite rigid. I don't know if it needs to be that rigid, but extra strength never hurts. So I cut it in a strip like this. This is a longer strip than I need. And the kind of interesting part is how this strap goes up into the vehicle. It hooks. There's a spot in the frame that is kind of shaped like this, and you take this strap and you kind of hook it into the hole in the frame, and when the weight of it pulls it down, it kind of locks in place. And then this other end, well, that part's broken off, but that other end has a bolt that pulls up to the other side of the frame around the gas tank. So the tricky part, and I don't think it's going to be that tricky, is to make my new strap have that design for the end. Now, this part really isn't important from a, that angle is not important, but it has to be this diameter, or I'm sorry, this width right here, and you need to have this kind of shape right here. That has to be pretty exact, otherwise the strap won't fit in place very well. This angle is not required to be accurate, neither is this, and the top of it probably can be a little bit longer, but anyway, I'm going to just see how close I can get it. So I've got this strip of that sheet metal that's a little wider than the original, and that's okay because I'm actually going to put the original back in place and then put my new strap right underneath it. And the reason why is because the original has this nice plastic coating that's going to protect the tank, whereas my new strap doesn't have that plastic coating. I could have taken a bicycle inner tube or something like that to line the new strap to protect the tank, but it's just easier to reuse the old piece. Keep in mind, if you're going to do that, that means your new strap has to be just a fraction longer, maybe a ½ centimeter longer. So don't make it identical to your old strap in length. I'm going to take this piece of steel, which is heavier again. This is probably 3 millimeters. And I'm going to trace out, they're both rusty, so it's hard to tell what it looks like. I'm going to trace out that design on there and then use a jigsaw to cut it out. And once I do that, I can just tack it onto my new green strap that I've got there, and I'll have the right design. So I'll be back in a little bit after I've progressed a bit. Okay, so after using the jigsaw, I marked out the pattern from the old strap onto this piece of steel, and it used to look like that. And now it looks like that. And I actually bent it a bit to line up with the contour of the strap. And then I bent my new strap, my green piece of steel, See my other video for a method on how to extend the usefulness of your vise and bend a piece of steel like this. And that fits on there just like that. I actually got under the truck and tried my new piece to see if it fits. And it does, although I think it's kind of a strange design. The weight of the whole strap fits on this angled part of the steel, not the flat part that touches my thumbnail. So it's almost like this strap wedges in place and is forever, you know, it's wedged and it's trying to spread the bracket that holds it apart. Of course, it's not going to spread it, but it seems how it is. Maybe it's supposed to be that way. Well, I'm sure it is supposed to be that way. Anyway, my new one is the same design as my old one, even though I might not agree that that's necessarily the best design. I feel the weight should be put on these flat pieces right here, right along there. Anyway, so there we are, and ideally one would use a MIG welder to tack this all up, but I don't have that here. I have an arc welder, so that's what I'm going to do next. So here we are with our metal bent. Now what I did is I took the new piece that I want to weld, put on top of the green piece there, put a marker all around the edge and in this little center hole, and use a grinder and cleaned all the paint off of that. Now this piece of metal was painted, so I wanted to get all the paint off. This piece of metal was heavily rusted, so I used a grinder and cleaned all the rust off it around the perimeter. What that'll do is, for an unskilled welder like me, it'll make the welding job much easier. It's going to be easier to strike an arc and start welding, and the weld will be of better quality. So, okay, well, here we are with our new bracket made. The old one is in the top, and the new one is right below it, so you can see I've got an angle cut there, and this guy's cut the same, and that angle there. We're all good. If we stand the two brackets like this heavier piece used to be attached there, and it was a fairly thick piece of steel when the truck was new. It's rotted out, there's not much left. I've taken this quite heavy piece of plate, and that's what I'm going to use to secure it, and it's going to look like this. So what I'll do now is I'll weld this on here, and I'm actually going to cut up this old one just to get this plastic protector, and I'll line it on the bottom of here, and then I'll complete the fabrication of the bracket. Okay, well, here's the final product. I've got my reinforcement plate welded on the end there, and this part was just tacked when I showed you before, but I've welded it quite thoroughly. I wouldn't say good. I mean, it's strong. It's not going to break, but it's a mess. So, for all you professional welders out there, I'm sure that there are better welding jobs that you may have seen, but anyway, it'll hold this on for sure. And then I just hit it with a coat of black rust paint, except for one little spot there, which is where I was holding it with my glove, which I don't care anyway, because it was already green paint. Okay folks, well, here we are the next day, and I took the second strap off, and it wasn't as bad as the first one, but right there, I don't know, I think that part that you see right there may actually be supposed to be like that, like it may not be completely rotten out, but nevertheless, I did flex it a bit, and each end here and here is much weaker than it really should be. So I've made myself a new one. It's all same kind of style as that, and I reinforced this end by, oh hello, neighbor's dog. Oh, don't get in the black paint. Oh well. Anyway, I reinforced this end by welding a washer on there, and then I just hit it with some black rust paint, and yeah, I'm almost embarrassed to show you that end with all the welds, but anyway, it'll hold together. And yeah, so saved myself $100 and got 2 gas tank straps. Oh, and another thing, where the original one isn't worn out and it has this plastic coating over it, I like the idea of putting it back on first and then putting this one over it. So I built the new one just ever so slightly larger to accommodate the original back in place, and then the new one right over top of it. So I'll simply use the same bolt, and I'll have, you know, maybe stronger than new with the extra doubling up. Okay, bye.